Hey, this is Ellen coming to you from the tropical island of St. Bart's. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Hi, this is Stan in Gainesville, and today we're talking with our good friends Mark, Stanley, and Clifton Taylor on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shores neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
And sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 415. And today we have a very interesting show with good friends, of Light Talk, Mark, Stanley, and Clifton Taylor.
And for those of you who might not know, Mark and Clifton are not only both exceptionally talented lighting designers, but they also run the Studio School of Design, which we are huge fans of here at Light Talk. We like to have our friends on our show to find out what is going on with their studio school and to discuss the present and future challenges of training the next generation of lighting artists and technicians in an increasingly challenging political and economic environment.
So let's get started. First of all, Mark and Clifton, welcome once again to Light Talk. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Doing great. It's great to be back.
Thank you for having us on the show.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I know, episode 415, you said? That's incredible.
415 episodes.
That's amazing. Well,
yeah, we're in the middle of our 8th season.
Wow.
Coming up on our anniversary show. Yeah.
You guys could have put on a Broadway show in the amount of time that you've been doing Light Talk.
We certainly could have.
And it might have not paid as well either.
The royalties from Light Talk are better, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. We run this show at a loss so that we got big tax write-offs because Stan makes so much money with his investments.
It's not a loss for me. I gotta pay for things. Coffee cups, shot glasses, iguanas, stuffed animals.
That's running at a loss. That's the idea.
Professional sound equipment. Yeah.
And high-end editors. We have a lot of people on our staff, which is fun. But we do have an attorney now, which is great, who saved us from serious litigation.
Watson, Whitener, and Beam.
Yeah, exactly. So Snoot has been taking care of us. So it's great. So who's going to Showlight?
I'm going to Showlight in May.
Right. We were supposed to go.
I'm going.
Great.
Yeah, Light Talk was going to go this year.
We were going to go, but then we couldn't go.
Why?
Go. Well, we're going to go next year. We're going to go next year. Right, Stan?
It's every 4 years.
It's every 4 years.
Oh, we'll be dead in 4 years. That was our chance. We're not going to be around in 4 years.
So Jim Tetlow has taken over this year, and he has. So it's going to be designers delivering papers about interesting projects, and it's a very different kind of conference than LDI or USITT or even World Design Conference in that it's really focused on design projects. There's not such a big component of like a trade show. There's a little bit of that there, but it's really focused on papers, people talking about their projects. And this year, what Tetlow and his committee have put together is a series of workshops, which is the first time that Showlight's doing that. And so Studio School is going to do one of the workshops, and I'm going to talk about working with LED lights and color, one of my favorite subjects. So a 2-hour hands-on workshop on color and LEDs.
And if you happen to be in Copenhagen in June, Jane Cox and I are doing a 3-day workshop in Copenhagen for 30 or 40 Scandinavian and other friends, designers there as well. So we're reaching out internationally.
That's pretty awesome.
Studio School did a workshop in Copenhagen 2 years ago, and we had people from 5 different countries come. You can sign up via our website if you want to find yourself in Copenhagen in June. It's June 16th to 18th, I think, are the dates this year.
17th through 19th.
Thank you so much.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Stan, where are you going to be?
I could alter my trip because we'd be coming home from southern Germany at that time. We could make a stop in beautiful Copenhagen. Something.
It is so amazing.
I do like.
So amazing to be there for the solstice.
I like Copenhagen. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah.
Are you all going to go up to Aarhus, whatever it's called, and visit the Martin people?
Maybe you might go there, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a really pretty town.
Yeah.
They have a charming opera house. It's really very nice.
Nice.
Having been on the Martin tour.
why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what's happening with the studio school right now? There's a lot going on, right?
A lot going on. Well, we're 4 years old now, which is hard to believe. We sat in with you not long after we started in spring of 21, and it's just taken off in a way that I don't think Clifton and I had ever thought it would happen. We've had community events, we've had online teaching, we're international, and one of our big successes has been our high school program. So we're super thrilled about everything that's going on because we just realized that we have to catch them while they're young and enthusiastic and really passionate. And so the high school program has been really, really fun.
That's a week long. This year it's going to be 8 days in July in New York City, and it's free to participate. There's no tuition, and there's not just Mark and I teaching, but several other teachers, and we have guests every day. And for that, we build a kind of light lab space where there's 4 labs in this one big room. And all the projects are hands-on, so it's really project-based learning and really learner-focused. And it's a fun week, lots of swag. And we take everybody to go see a show. We talk about getting into college and what kind of materials they need to help get their career started. And we also talk about how they can go back to their high schools and make their lighting departments and lighting programs better in their high schools.
I have a question about that because I kind of knew you were starting that, but I'm doing a lot of high schools. I'm doing 5 right now in Orlando. And interestingly, the folks down there in the school district were saying how they didn't anticipate the interest in theatrical and performance when they built these schools. So now we're having to sort of upgrade. I'm doing a lot of upgrades. So maybe there's a way that we could integrate some of what you're doing when these schools get their new systems that we design for them and help teach them how to use them.
So we have 4 areas which we'll talk about that are really our areas of interest. But corollary to teaching the high school students is we're also under contract with the Department of Education in New York City, where we do professional development workshops for high school teachers. And that's been super important because lots of teachers maybe get involved in producing their high school musical or their play, and maybe they know about acting or dancing or singing or music, but they probably are, unless there's a technical teacher, if there's one teacher in the school, they're probably not technically oriented. So we've been doing training about how they can use their console and how they can talk to their kids about careers in design. And that's been super
Would you be interested in expanding beyond New York? Would you like to think of other cities?
So the great thing about the teacher training is that it's been under contract with the department. So if other people are willing to kind of pony up, the high school students that we do, we go out and raise money for that ourselves. But that other thing for teachers is here's a fee. That's what it takes to go through the workshop with that.
Yeah, well, the school district I'm working for mostly seems to have a lot of money. It's Orange County, and we have Disney and Universal are in our hometown activities. And so I'm just thinking about a way to help those teachers get what you're offering in Florida, which would be just something to ponder.
Especially if it's in the winter.
Yes. Like now it's gorgeous, right? It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that being in California. You guys freezing your butts off up there. So why don't you just lay out exactly what this high school program is as far as what a student, like if someone was interested in being a part of it, they have to come to New York, right? They have to be in New York to do this, or can it be done online?
No,
as
so
well?
for the high school program, it's in person in New York City. We don't currently have funding to put people up or to, so it's really geared mostly towards New York kids. So we have had kids from other parts of the country come and join us, and that's been wonderful. But they come usually with a parent in tow to keep them safe in New York and stuff like that, because we're not set up for that. But what they learn during the week, they learn a lot about collaboration. Everything is team-based. And we give them a series of projects, light lab projects, where we start out with, lighting a poem, lighting, kind of feelings around a poem, and then look at breaking down visual materials and kind of creating dioramas based on visual prompts. And then we end the week with lighting to music. So each team is given a song, and they create cues to the song. And super effective, super fun. Along the way, we also, of course, talked to them about different careers. Last year, we spent a day at PRG and visited the shop with everybody, and they got to meet all the different people who have different jobs at PRG, just to kind of project themselves into the business that way. And then every day at lunch, we have a different guest speaker come. So like Kevin Lawson has come, Yosi Marquez comes and talks to them about their careers in the business. And that's super fun for them as well. And we usually go to see a show at the Joyce too, and then talk to the designer about the show and do other activities around that. So it's a very packed week.
Sounds fabulous. Sounds like the old Broadway lighting master classes, but for high school kids.
For high school kids.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important, as I said, to catch them at that age because, they don't see lighting as a potential career. They just see it as, what they do in their free time at high school. And, the idea that they could actually make a living at something that they love we're planting that seed. So that's really important. And that it's not just lighting for theater. I mean, there's television, there's architecture, there's theme parks, and we try and bring in as many different diverse points of view and backgrounds as we can so that the students are exposed to a lot of different ideas about, programming and what they can do. And well, we've had now 5 or 6 of them go on to college conservatory style programs. So we're very excited that there's a track record there that we're building on.
And this year, we've coordinated the workshop to follow Springboard for Design's workshop. So I'm thinking that we might have some crossover with those guys. That's another program that's it has a little bit different focus than ours. They're covering kind of all aspects of design in the theater, and they also have a kind of more national reach. And I think they have funding to put people up in hotels and stuff like that. But I'm actually going to go in and help with the lighting portion of Springboard for Design. So we're in coordination with them.
You're also doing a College Educators Symposium. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's coming up in May in partnership with the National Design Portfolio Review and with NYU. We did one a couple years ago. We had about 8 colleagues come and knocked around a lot of different ideas at the time about the challenges of educating lighting designers in America right now. And now we've got another whole set of topics
oh my God, we talk about that every week on the show.
I mean, it's
the challenges.
It's challenges, but
Oh my God.
recruitment and everything that goes with that. So, we're looking forward to that.
So I hope for any college educators who are listening to this that you consider coming to New York, both for the National Design Portfolio Review, to see what kids from all over the country are producing, but then also to come join us to spend the day with us talking about lighting pedagogy and what does the business need today and what do our kids need today.
Can we take a quick detour here? I think it might be interesting for our listeners to hear about how each of you got into the business.
Sure. Mark, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I ran follow spot for the Tortoise and the Hare when I was 13 years old, and you can see where that got me.
Who were you covering, Mark?
I was fortunately my pickup was the tortoise, so I could move very slowly. So that was my first introduction to lighting design.
Well, what high school, Mark? What high school?
It was actually
elementary school?
No, I was in junior high in Arlington, Virginia, and I was the Arlington Rec Department was putting on Tortoise and the Hare.
Nice.
And I actually realized then reason that I didn't have a career as a programmer, because backstage we had an auto transformer that I thought was turned off at intermission, and I'm just playing with it, and the technical director comes running back screaming, "Why are the lights flashing all over the theater?" And it was like, I kind of snuck back to my follow spot and hid out behind that.
Good story. Good story.
But yeah, I mean, I did it all through high school. I was lucky enough to have great mentors in college, and then I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison and met the famous Gilbert Hemsley there, and that was the start of my professional career.
And I met Mark in Miami. Did you come down with
right.
Gilbert for a show?
I did.
Was it Nabucco?
Yeah.
It was something like some show bigger than God, as Gilbert would always say. And Mark was one of the
bunnies.
one of the Gilbert bunnies, right?
That's right.
And how many people came down with you on that trip? Well, several. It was you.
Oh,
and
there were usually between 3 and 8 of us, because that's about as many people as you could fit in one hotel room.
One hotel
floor.
room. You say you couldn't get away with that now. Gilbert would not be happy right now in our day and age.
You consider no
They would
longer
all
cool.
bring sleeping bags, right? All the bunnies would bring a sleeping bag. Gilbert would cook in the hotel room, of course, basically to burn anything down.
Oh, God.
It was crazy.
That's so cool.
But, it was great. It was so cool. It was a time when theater was so communal and less, crazy.
Well, we used to go to Boston Lyric. We would fill up a van full of kids from Madison and drive up to the Boston Lyric with Sarah Caldwell conducting. And there was, on this corner of the street there, it's Avery Street, was the Avery Hotel, which we called a very hotel, which was not much more above a flea bag. And now that's been torn down, and there's a Four Seasons on that corner.
Oh.
So it's different times now.
It's a very different hotel now.
A very different
very
hotel.
different.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
And then you went to New York and segued to the New York City Ballet and the Boston Ballet. And
yeah, well, I came to New York to work with Gilbert for right out of school. I don't even know if it still exists. The National Opera Institute, there were NOI grants at the time, and that paid from New York City Opera. Never had an assistant lighting designer on staff until me. And they got an NOI grant to fund me for the first year there. So, yeah. And then, yes, after I'd been at the opera for about 6 years, I moved over to the ballet.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Clifton, where was your first tortoise?
My first, I hung around with a woman that I went to church with, who was a magician, and she kind of took me under her wing, and I helped her. First it was like I was the kid who hung around, but then I helped her kind of be the stage manager and do the lighting and pack the truck and unpack the truck. And so that was kind of my junior high life. And then Magic by Martine in Chicago. And may she rest in peace. And then I got into the high school theater group, and I went to a great high school for the performing arts called Maine South High School. And shout out to Maine South if you guys have listeners from them. And just had a fantastic experience there. And then from there, I went 1 year to college at Knox College, and I remember the theater teacher said, I think you should go to New York. You should. I don't know what you're doing here. And so that's what I did. I kind of packed my bags and then moved to New York and got into NYU. Even though I didn't have an undergraduate degree, the Lloyd Burlingame let me in. And I got to study with John Gleason and Arden Fingerhut and Alan Lee Hughes. It was a good experience.
Giants.
Yeah.
Giants.
And then I was very lucky. Billington hired me right out of school, and I got to draft for Ken's office for a year. And that was great. So I had a very kind of blessed entry into the business.
And both of you really specialized in dance, among other things, but there was a big dance concentration for both of you.
Yeah, for me, I came in not through the ballet, but through contemporary dance. And for me, it was so fun to tour. I loved touring dance companies. And really, I think I learned everything from that experience, because dance touring is the best, because you learn how to put up a show in a day. You learn how to do it with whatever equipment the theater has. You learn how to get along with crews from all over the world. Makes you a good person. And you learn how to essentialize a design. So all those are really good skills in the theater. And it's made me a super fast programmer. I can light a show very quickly. And that was a really good way to come up in the business is through dance.
Well, I think that the students in your high school program are lucky to have both of you as teachers and mentors. It's quite a collective career you guys got there.
You're the epitome of giving it back.
Well, the thing we realized during the pandemic was that, there is such a wealth of talent in the professional community in terms of information and people who want to give back. The pandemic kind of brought out the best of us in a way of, there were podcasts and seminars and guest teachers, and everybody was just trying to keep alive and keep energy going all during that. And that's when Clifton and I started the idea of Studio School, was like, let's tap into this. These people are out there ready to give back, and they have such varied careers all across the country and internationally. So, here we are 4 years later, and they've just continued to be supporting. So it's really not me and Clifton. It's this whole lighting community of people that are just amazing.
Yeah, you brought in some great people, like one of my favorites, Bob Barnhart. I could listen to him teach all day.
His class is so popular.
I just talked to him last week, actually. Last week we had a Zoom call.
He's a great teacher.
Well, he's a great, great speaker. Oh my God!
I think because of you, Clifton. I think it's your fault.
Why is that?
Because I think he was asking about visualization stuff.
Oh no, it was me. I told him to call you because he was looking for someone with experience in WYSIWYG, and I know much more about capture. Not that I know much about anything, but I knew that you did a big dive into WYSIWYG.
Yeah, thank you for that. We had a very nice conversation. We had a long conversation.
Good.
That was good.
Yeah, he's great. Who are some of your other guests coming up?
Well, we do have a pre-visualization weekend seminar coming up in partnership with Early Bird. They're a great company, and they've done it before for us, and we're going to do it again in May. And the associates and assistants seminar that Craig Steltenmuller has run for a number of summers is coming back with a guest, Kat Joe, who was the very first Binkley Fellow for the Hal Binkley Fellowship. The two of them are going to be partnering on teaching that over the summer. But our big, real new initiative, the one that we're super excited about and been kind of waiting 4 years to get going, is a curriculum program starting this fall. We're going to do an in-person teach lighting over 11 weeks, fall and spring, and we're really excited about having students in the classroom and being able to teach lighting in that way rather than these kind of one-off topic-driven classes.
Where is your classroom?
So we've been granted for next year a space at it's called the Center for Creativity and Dance. It's a new space in New York City. It's at 10th Street and Avenue A. And it was acquired by the Joyce Theater about a year ago. And they're operating it mostly as dance rehearsal spaces, but there's some classrooms in that building. They've acquired the entire building. It's an old boys club. So in the building is like gyms and a pool and, stuff like sports stuff. But there is this library in the building that the Joyces granted to us to do teaching starting in the fall. And we are so grateful to them and so excited about this prospect of doing twice a week class in a lab space. So we're going to fit it out with lights, and so it'll be real hands-on stuff, not theoretical.
Yeah, Chris Conti and I were just there yesterday. PRG is helping us with the infrastructure. And speaking of people we're grateful for, it was fantastic. Chris had some great ideas about how we can set that up. So, there'll be, lighting equipment in there that they can use as project-based learning. And it's going to be something we've been looking forward to for 4 years now.
Very cool.
That's great. I thought of both of you yesterday. There was a thing online about somebody donating $50 million to Lincoln Center for Contemporary Dance.
I saw that, and not only did I see it,
No.
but they used. I'm pretty sure it's a photograph of one of my ballets, and I'm of course, not credited. But it. I looked at that picture. I was
Oh,
like, that
is
that
that
is
my work?
Dancing Spirit. So,
I remember that.
That's a lot of money. That's a really quite a nice infusion of funds for contemporary dance there.
Well, this is really interesting because you're talking about this development of your program with Studio School of Design, and you've been doing it for 4 years now. I believe you said that. What have you learned? Do you see just this ongoing evolution? I mean, what's the future? How do you feel about that? What would you like to do better? Just curious.
yeah, I mean, for me, I think what we've learned over this time is that there's a need for what we're doing. There's a need for lifelong learning opportunities. As the technology changes, people need to kind of dive back into education in some kind of affordable way throughout their careers. And I know that's true for me. As we mentioned visualization a few minutes ago, and I need help with visualization software. Like that's not something I could have learned in my 1980s NYU degree. So there is a need for lifelong learning, and that's how we started out. But there's also a need to bring other voices into the business. And it's not enough that people are scholarshiped, although scholarships are extremely important. It's not enough that we say that, we should increase diversity, and I mean diversity across all axes of, anything that you could mention for diversity. We should be working to bring new folks into the business. Um, and that's what led us to giving high school programs, is that we needed to find people at a younger age to even tell them these careers existed, because I don't think a lot of people know, unless you have a great technical theater teacher in high school, you're not even aware that there's a job in lighting for you, and there are jobs, as we know. There's jobs for lots of folks across the business, not just theater, opera, and dance. And then the last thing that we're finding now is that there's a need for in-person training. So let's say you go to a liberal arts college and you participated in the theater there, but it really wasn't a strong tech program, but you're interested in lighting design, or you're interested in design. And how are you going to get that training? Well, you could go to graduate school, or maybe you want to work and be in New York City and take classes on the side. And that's really what this is a way to provide an alternative way to learn the business without going away to graduate school, which is, going to grad school is a totally viable option. It remains so, but it's also not for everybody. So for a certain population, they want to be working in New York while they're taking classes.
Yeah, I think we've learned. Well, we've definitely learned a lot. It's the learning curve has been pretty steep for
Every day.
both of us every day. But it's a different world from when the four of us and Ellen, that we got out of school. It's just not the same, and the economy's different. The demands on your time are different. The way you get jobs are different, and we have to address that. We have to be aware that it's different. And so we're trying to tailor this new program so that it's versatile, it's flexible, it's affordable, and that people who don't already have sort of financial backing can come and study and learn. As I said earlier, I mean, there's just a lot of people who are ready to give back from our community of designers, and so we just want to connect those two worlds together. But the thing I know personally I've learned is that we have to create stepping stones. There has to be a way. The high school program can't exist just by itself. We have to give them the high school program, then we have to give them the next step. And then once they do that, we have to give them the next step. So that's our challenge moving forward, is filling in those blanks and making those steps work. And yeah, we're excited about that.
Have you thought about nationalizing this program? Like maybe have, something based in New York, then something based in LA, then something based in Vegas.
Well, I think when we were on your podcast the last time, you offered your house as Studio
Yes,
School
absolutely.
West.
That's right. It's on the beach, it's
that's
kind of
right.
small, but I can set up a little thing next to my organs, so it'll be fun.
Every time we talk about that, people are excited. Yeah, let's do it in Chicago. Let's do it in San Francisco. I mean, at the moment, there's a certain amount of bandwidth that both Clifton and I have to make that happen. But the international part is, just dipping our toe a little bit in that. Now we just need to branch out around the United States too. But it's that's challenging.
I
for
would
sure.
say that for any especially any conservatory program that is trying to have a robust draw, part of any conservatory program should be to get themselves into high schools in their area, to do training for the high school teachers and for the high school students, so that there's a kind of natural flow into the conservatory, and I think that will help. That will help make all of our programs more robust. So I think there is a real need for, especially the high school programs, to be nationalized.
But it's great that you can do a lot of online teaching too, because that brings in people from all over the world.
Yeah, that was a real gift of the pandemic that certainly we did not know before we started, at how much international reach we would have by doing stuff online. And one thing that we're working on now is making our courses available post experience, so you could just kind of buy the recording of it if you can't be in the class, so that the knowledge is available all the time.
What is the pricing like?
It's always just based on a formula of how much does it cost to put on the course, and then we try to not make it much more than that. So most of our adult online classes are in the $500 range. It could be $300 if it's a shorter class. It could be as high as $600 if it's a longer, like 8-week course. It's always just based on what does it cost to put it on. One thing we started by doing is not, as much as people want to volunteer and everything like that, we also will say that we pay everybody to teach. So that's our kind of biggest cost, especially for the online stuff. The high school program, as I mentioned before, is totally free to kids who get in. It's competitive to get in. They have to apply. This year we're going to do interviews, because last year when it became competitive last year, I would say that, where we had many more applicants than we had slots. So this year we're going to start an interview program, to kind of figure out who would best benefit from the course. And then the fall program, the thing that's going to start in September, like Lighting Design 1, that's going to be priced kind of equivalent to what a community college course would cost in New York City. So that'll be $1,500 for the course, and it's 6 hours of classroom time plus lab time during the week to do homework. So it's a great deal, if you compare it to what a college would cost for a six-hour course. So that's how we do that, and then we're constantly just hitting people up for money. So if you have money and you're listening to this podcast, please donate. You can donate to, cover the tuition for a kid in the summer program, or help cover the costs of the fall program. But we definitely depend on donations.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great. Now, I want to donate because I believe in this education. I have a very pessimistic view of the future of graduate schools in this country, and not delving too much into politics. But today it was announced that Harvard has been cut off from all their federal funding, and which takes 25% of their overall operating budget. And I think that if this persists, that these large research schools are going to be in trouble. They're going to have to cut somewhere, and I'm afraid that they're going to end up cutting in the arts.
Yeah.
Before they start cutting in cancer research
Right.
and things like that. And it's very, very bleak. But even before all this happened, I'm a firm believer, like you guys said, about diversity of ideas, diversity of people, the whole thing. Because you go to a graduate school, your typical graduate school, not every graduate school runs this way, but we have a lot of graduate schools in this country, too many. I wish we were more like Europe in this respect. But you usually have one lighting mentor. And as good as that lighting mentor may be, it's nothing like having 4 or 5 or 6 voices and ideas. So they're all good lighting mentors, but you don't ever know who you're going to click with. I was fortunate, similar to what Mark was talking about, to have not only had my own lighting mentor, but Gilbert actually turned into a mentor of mine once I got out of grad school. And then Ken, and then, all these people became mentors, and I became a much better designer because of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just think, from the first time you guys talked about this 4 years ago, I said, this is a great idea. And I told all my students, not only, take classes with me, do some Studio School of Design, courses, get other voices there, get other ideas. So I think the future is this model. I really do.
Yeah, I think the asynchronous thing makes it, so we're not so locked to semesters the way a school is, because we're doing professional training, we're much more flexible. You could take a course here or there. And so I do think that the model makes sense for a lot of working people.
Yeah, and not only are we not locked into semesters, but I mean, as you know from your work in your universities, it takes 2 or 3 years to get a new course on the books. Sometimes it's got to go through 4 different committees to be approved and all of that. David, if you or Stan said to us, I want to teach this class, I think there's a need for this class, we could start it in a couple of months. We can just move. We don't have to talk to the provost,
Who's the provost of the day? Because you're Clifton. I want to know where the money goes to.
So we're in good shape here, and we just hope that people will continue to support us, and both financially and in their mind share, and continue to step up. It's a program that we're both very passionate about.
And you should be proud of it, because that service that you offer to the young designers and technicians out there is invaluable.
But this is why it's so important and we're so grateful you had us on the podcast, because I think if we've learned anything over the last 4 years, it's reaching the population of potential students is really challenging. There's just not the forums that there used to be to sort of get information out there. And I can't tell you how many students who apply to BU or other schools, and I'm talking to them, and I'll say, well, have you heard of Studio School? And they'll say no. And I'm like, well, how do we reach them? How do we get it out there? So this podcast is really important. That we get to your listeners and let them know and keep spreading the word. And any advice from anybody, because Instagram is on its way out. What's next after that? We do have a small social media presence, but we want to grow that. It's getting the word out. That's the biggest challenge we have.
Let me give you a feedback loop that's maybe useful. So in my last year of teaching, or the year before, I had an undergraduate. His name was Ben Phillips. I'll call his name out. And he's in my class. And this guy is he's programming like a whiz. And he's got such professional habits. And his drafting is so beautiful. And I said, where'd you go to high school? And then he said, I did not heard of the high school. And then I said, where did you learn all this stuff? Because you have an incredible level of competence for an undergraduate just coming into this BFA program. It was I took a course at the studio school.
Right.
That's a great thing.
We love that.
And let me just continue. And so Ben is so proficient. He's working now as the lighting director at Florida Rep down in Fort Myers, I think. And I was doing a project nearby in Sarasota that had huge programming issues. And I said, I need a programmer. I said, Ben, could you help me with this? And not only did he fix the problem, I hired him, I paid him well, and we did all the work where we tunneled into the system at the building, remote control from my studio, and then brought him in via Zoom, gave him control of my computer, and he did the programming. And all because you guys helped supplement. He got both. He got a good BFA education with us, and he got great fuel in his rocket from you guys to get started. So I just want to give you that
much for that,
feedback.
Stan. I do think that there are, I was at UNCSA until last year, and Mark's at BU. And I think one of the things that caused us to start the program is that we realized that there's things that we can't do in our undergraduate programs that is necessary to kind of walk out the door and be in the business. And so one of them is the course we offer, right after the summer begins, this Craig Stelzen-Mueller's assisting an associate class. And that class is a career launching class. One, if you do well in it, you have a good relationship with Craig, and that's not a bad thing to have. But also he gives you really good inside knowledge and what's required to kind of get started in the business. And it's a very robust course. So, and I don't know, even in the best program, I don't know the best program could offer that class, because
it's just another thing. Like, we had an internship with the Oslo, and I can't duplicate that. We couldn't duplicate the Oslo experience for the students at the university. There's two different creatures, and you really need both.
And you need both.
They really need both. Yeah.
So people who want to take your classes, where do they find you?
You go to our website at studioschoolofdesign.org, type it all out, and find us there. And there's a big button on the right that says current courses. And all the courses that we're talking about today will be on the website there. And you can sign up, and it'll be super easy. And you can also donate at the website. Should I mention that again? You can donate at the website.
Did you say something about
donate at the website?
Yeah, did you say you could donate at the website?
I'm going to do a challenge here. I'm going to challenge my family, my Lumen family. I'm going to donate, and I hope that you guys do too. All right?
Okay.
Stan is notoriously cheap.
Actually, I have an estate plan, so maybe we should talk about how we put a little bit of something in the estate plan for the studio school.
That's right.
We actually have 2 people in our orbit that are giving us substantial gifts when they pass, and we're very grateful for that. So,
that's another good idea, because Stan, it's not going to be that much longer. You and I are going to be passing within 5 or 6 years.
And then what happens? Yeah, I call you every day, and I'm like, you don't really need that new car, Stan. Yeah,
keep the Tesla.
Well, Stan looks so much younger now that he's not teaching. It's just amazing. So I don't know. We maybe aren't going to hold out for Stan's money, but David, we're going to hold out for yours.
Thank you.
So, I don't know where it's going to be right before they put me in the ground, but I can promise you it will be more than it is today. So ultimately, you'll do better, because I spend a lot of time managing the money.
Good for you. Yeah, you should do a course for us then, Stan, in managing money.
But I have a couple of subjects that I wouldn't mind doing, but the question is, I need a little bit of detox from teaching. Give me another year or so, and then maybe I'll be ready. Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
Well, Mark and Clifton, thank you so much for being with us today. Again, it's so good to see you guys. We got to do this. We can't wait 3 or 4 years. It's got to be at least
annual. We should do an annual studio school show.
We're in. We'll come talk to you anytime.
Yeah. Oh man, and it's so good to see you. You both look.
You both look pretty good. And, I have to say.
You look.
Thank
fabulous.
you so much.
Yeah,
you look fabulous.
Marvelous.
You're
We're not looking on the inside.
It's
just on the outside.
To look good than to feel good. There you go. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast.
Except for the information from these 2 guys, but anything else, if you decide to litigate, the Snoop Group with the new legal team of Watson, Leitner, and Beam will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and Sister, coming to you from Gainesville, Long Beach, St. Bart's, Boston, and somewhere in North Carolina.
That's right. And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So thanks again to Mark and Clifton for joining us today, and we will see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye-bye.